So before we jump into the session, let me introduce myself. My name is Dinesh Kumar and I have nearly 10 years of experience in AngularJS development and designing. So past 4 years I'm working in AngularJS. My day-to-day work is creating custom widgets using AngularJS. We will be using custom directives and the configs in the AngularJS feature mostly to build these kind of custom widgets. This is what the day-to-day work. Okay, so today what are we going to discuss in our session or webinar? So first we will be discussing about two-way binding. This is one of the best feature available in AngularJS. So normally if you build any other web applications with normal jQuery or just a JavaScript, what do we need to do? We'll be getting the data from the database or server, then we have to bind it in the UI, then read also you have to write events. But with this two-way binding feature, you need not to do everything. Automatically everything handled by AngularJS. We'll be discussing about that. Next one, we'll be discussing about the Angular UI. So whoever worked on this jQuery, they might know jQuery UI. What does it do? It will give some kind of functionalities for dialog box or accordion or date picker, other stuff. In the same way, in AngularJS also we have a component. With this use of this Angular UI component, you should be able to build all the model accordion, whatever we have it in the jQuery UI. But here we will be building with Bootstrap JS. Then next one is we will be discussing about the animations. Whatever the application we build, it should look good. So we have to give some kind of cool transitions and other stuff that we will be building through ng animate module. So we will be discussing about that also. Last one is unit testing in AngularJS. This is what the objective of our today's session. So if you guys have any other questions on this session, so what you can do, you can post your questions on this question window. Once I complete the particular module, I will be answering for your questions. Let's go first. So in AngularJS, normally they are calling it as a MVC framework. What does that mean by MVC framework, or why do we need MVC framework on the client side? Who worked on this backend or in the server side, they might know the MVC frameworks in the Java or .NET. But here in AngularJS also we are going to use the MVC framework. So here M stands for model. So model is just the data, whatever you are handling in your application. For example, what can we say? So we have a user information in the database. So we'll be making a query in the DB. From the server, we'll pass the user data to the client side. So in the client side, whatever data we have, that's what we are calling it as a model. Next, view. So view is just a presentation layer. So what is your representation layer? Just a HTML pages. So whatever data you have to show it to the user. Otherwise, if you want to get any other information from the user, we will be getting it. So that is what we are calling it as a view. Next one, controller. So controller is where you will be writing your business logics and validations, right? So let's see what is the use of controller and how can we create a basic controller in our AngularJS. So in controller we will be writing all the business logics and the validation. If you want to write before we pass the data to the server side, we will be writing it in the controller. Okay. So in the AngularJS is working like a two-way binding and other features are there. So how does it work? So in the controller we will be having a $watch service. So what does it do is, if your model changes in your controller, automatically it will trigger an event and updates the view. In the same way, if you make any other changes in the view, it will trigger an event to update the model. So because of this $watch service only, these kind of transitions are happening. Next one, we have scopes in the controller. So what is the use of scope, and is it possible to inherit the scopes? Okay. So in the scopes only we will be having the data. So whatever data you wanted to have, we can store it in the scope. It is like a variable in your application. Okay. So whatever the scope variable you are creating, you should be able to access those variables in the controller view or the template, whatever we are calling. So for example, what I'm going to do, in the controller, I'm going to create a basic scope variable. So the scope variable, if I just create the scope variable, the whatever the view or template binded to the controller, automatically that will be updated. Okay, instead of seeing it in the normal theoretical way, let's do some kind of coding. So let's go out here. Let me create a basic one, demo. So what I want, I need just AngularJS file alone. Let me take it from here. I have Bower components already installed, everything. So I can take AngularJS file. So let me copy paste those AngularJS file. Then let me create one more HTML. Index.html. You can name it whatever you want. So this is one of my favorite editor, Sublime. Let me open it. Okay. So I have an empty HTML file. Can you guys read this text, or let me increase the font size? Is it visible? Okay, great. So if you want to start the basic AngularJS application, what do we do? First we will be including the script file. AngularJS script file. So already we have that script file. If you don't have a script file, what you can do, you can get the CDN link, or you can download it from the angularjs.org. So already I have downloaded using the Bower components. So let me include that file over here. So it is angular.js. So okay, I have included. So what does it do is, once I include this AngularJS file, it will look for ng app directive. Once it's find the ng app directive, it will consider whatever you have inside that ng app directive, that will be considered as a Angular components. So I am including the ng app directive in the root of my HTML. So whatever I defined inside this HTML, whole HTML itself will be considered as an Angular component. ng app equal to, I can give some kind of name. Let me call it as a demo. That's done. So I have to define this ng app, and I wanted to create a controller. So how can I do this? So control, yeah. Let me create one more file. I'm going to call it as app.js, where app equal to, I'm creating a module for this. Module of whatever name you defined in this ng app, just pass that name, demo. And if you have any other dependencies, you can pass the dependencies. In the next module, we will be seeing how can we pass the dependencies and what is the use of those things. Okay, now I don't want any other dependency, just I wanted to create a basic functionalities. Just I defined my Angular app over here. Next, what I want to do, just I want to initialize a controller. So how can we create a controller? App.controller. So just you have to pass the controller name. I'm going to call it as testctrl. This is what my controller name. Next, let's pass the scope as a dependency injection. Okay, so if you want to test it in the UI application, what we do, we will be doing by the console logs. Console.log inside controller. Okay, it is ready. So here we initialize the controller, but you have to define it in the HTML page. So where do you want to define the controller? I'm going to define it in the body. So whatever you have on this body, it will fall under this controller. So this is what we are calling it as a template. Whatever you are going to create it in the body. This is the same controller name I have passed. So let's open this in the browser. Let me give one welcome. Let me open this in the browser. So in the browser, you can see if you are getting any other error, it will be displayed right here. So we are getting some kind of error. Demo is not available. Okay, already I defined. So the trouble is you have to mention your script also. Otherwise, the script won't be loaded in the browser. So it can't find this demo. So that's why it is throwing the error. Let me include the script. Script. So whatever the name you have created, app.js. Let's save it and refresh. Everything is fine. It is coming inside the controller. Now we have created a basic AngularJS application. Okay, so what does it mean by scope? So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to create one variable, scope, normal variable. So how do we create a variable in normal JavaScript? Where name equals to something, right? So I'm going to pass the data, something I'm going to call it as a Dinesh. So what I'm doing, I created a basic variable, I'm passing that name to this. Now if I want to access this variable inside a HTML, it is not at all possible. There is no link. For that, in the AngularJS we have a new feature, that is the two-way binding or data binding. Because of this feature, whatever scope variable you are creating, I'm going to create a scope variable called name. Just let me call it as a Dinesh. Okay, so I'm creating a scope variable and I'm passing some data to it. Then whatever the HTML you have, this is what we will be calling it as a template or the view of your controller. So this scope variable, you should be able to access it right here. Okay, let me try to access that scope variable. So this is the expressions, we will be calling it in AngularJS. In the expressions, whatever the scope variable you will pass it, it will compile the scope variable and it gives the data over there instead of just the name. Okay, so just I'm going to pass the name. Let's refresh the page. Now you can see it right here. It is giving whatever name I passed from the controller, it has been printed right here in the HTML page. This is what we are calling it as a data binding in AngularJS. Okay, so whatever the scope you are defining for a particular controller, that scope you should be able to access it in the view or template of your controller. Then let's see what does it mean by two-way binding. Okay, so in the normal JavaScript web application, let's create this one. I'm going to do input type equal to text and val name or class. Okay, let's create a class equal to username. So we will be creating a normal text box like this. So if you want to read the data, what do? We'll be doing the DOM manipulation. Just find this class or ID, then get the value of it. This is how we'll be working. Then if you want to bind this value again to the another HTML or to the another div or span, what do you have to do? Again, let's create a span. So that will be having some kind of class or ID. Okay, name. So here you will be binding the event .html or .text, whatever you wanted to give. So we will be doing it in that way only. But if you are using AngularJS, you need not to write any other script for it. You just mark it as a scope variable. So you should be able to access the scope variable inside the controller. Let me just delete it. Don't want this name and other things because I'm not going to do any other DOM manipulation. Let's create this ng model equal to name. So whatever the variable I created and the data will be available right here. So if I change the data on this model, it updates my scope variable. Then this variable also will get updated. Here I'm not going to write any other single line of JavaScript code. Refresh. Now I have this Dinesh. Let me edit this. So whatever data I'm giving, so it is updating the model automatically. Now what I'm doing basically, I'm changing in the view, it is updating the model. Right? This is what two-way binding in AngularJS. Let's go to the PPT again. Okay. So model and template. So what does it mean by model? So whatever data you are getting from the backend or whatever data you are handling it in the UI, that's what we are calling it as a model. Let's go back to our example again. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to create one more scope variable. Scope.user equal to, it can have the name of the user. Name of the user can be a Dinesh and whatever the designation is UI developer, whatever it is. So this is a data somehow I am handling it in the client side. This data only we are calling it as a model. So if you are changing this particular model in your controller, automatically if you are using this scope variable in your view, if you are changing it in the model, automatically it updates your view. In the same, if you are updating your view, automatically it changes the model. That will happen through two-way binding feature in AngularJS. Okay. Then what does that mean by template? So right here you have your controller. So inside the controller, whatever the HTML you have created, that's what we are calling it as a template or the view. So we have so instead of creating this test controller on body, let me create one more div. Here I am going to create the test controller. Controller equal to test controller, right? So whatever I have done inside that, let me put it in this controller, so it will work fine. Yeah, great. Okay, no changes, it is working fine. Now you can see it over here, I defined my scope variable on this controller. Okay, so this controller scope will be available only on this div. Outside of the div, if I try to access the scope variable, it won't print. I'm going to print the name, right? So the name should come over here also. Let's see whether it is coming or not. So to see that, let me print name equal to whatever name. So it has to give this name over here. If I refresh the browser, the name will be available and the two-way binding, all the features will be available right here. But outside of the controller, if I define anything, if I try to access the scope variable, that you can't do it. So whatever the data you have inside that specific ng controller directive, that is what we are calling it as a template. Only you will be having access to this particular template alone. Again, let's go back to the slide. Next one. So how to bring the relation between the model, controller and template in the application. So what we are doing, we are just making the changes in the model. Automatically it updates the template, and the controller we are making the model changes, it updates the template, and template changes, updates the model. How does it everything happen? So in the controller, you can see right here, we are creating the controller. On the controller, we are passing the scope variable as a dependency injection. Okay. So the same controller will be available in your template also. So if any changes happens in the template, internally the controller will be having $watch service which watches your controller template. So okay, it finds okay in the template whatever the scope variable I defined over here, it has been changed. Okay, let's trigger an event, it triggers an event and the digest loop will run over there and the data will be updated right here. In the same way, if you are changing anything in the controller, it updates the view. Okay, this is what happening internally in the AngularJS controllers. So we have this two-way binding for a small example. You can bind the data using ngbind or normal expressions also you can bind it. So however, we have this eval method in the JavaScript. In the same way, we will be having expressions, but it's not exactly equal to this because the expressions, all the exceptions have been handled. For example, let's do this. Let's go back to our screen. So what I'm going to do right here, I'm going to use some other variable. Okay, hello. So what does it do? This expressions, it will take the data, compiles the data, and it gives the result. But this variable has not been declared yet. So if I do this, if you are trying to access any other not declared variable in JavaScript, what it will do, it will throw an alert message or the undefined. But if you are doing it inside the expression, the exception will be handled. It will give just null or empty. It won't throw any other exceptions or it won't break your application. That is one of the good feature what we have it in the AngularJS expressions. Okay, so do you guys have any other question on this two-way binding or AngularJS controller or how to declare a web application for an AngularJS? From Abdul Kalam, you have a question. Can we have a multiple ng app in the page? Okay, so let's go back to our HTML. So what is it? What we discussed is, so if we have this if you have this AngularJS script, what does it do? It will look for your ng app directive. Okay, so wherever it finds your first ng app directive, from there it will consider as a AngularJS application. So if you have multiple ng app directive, it will get confused because from where it starts as the AngularJS applications. So you can't have multiple ng app, but you can declare multiple modules. Okay, this is how we will be declaring the module in AngularJS. You can declare multiple modules so to segregate your application. So you can create a number of modules, then inject a particular module to the another module. That is possible, but you should not create multiple ng apps in the AngularJS application. Did I answer your question, Abdul? From Ashok, we have a question. What is the difference between ng bind and ng model? Which is the preferred scenario? Okay, let's take an example of this. If you have the normal span or div, so what do we do? Okay, I have a span. Inside this, I wanted to give my information. So whatever the data I have. At the time, you can use this expression or ng bind. Using the ng bind, if you pass any other scope variable name, what it will do, it will take this name, compile it to it, it will keep it inside this span. But if I want to access that variable in any other input controls, that is select box or input box or radio button, over there if you want to access the scope variable, we will be using ng model. So what you can do, right here you can't edit any other variable, am I right? It is just for the display purpose. But in the input control, if you are using the scope variable, you should be able to edit. Wherever you can edit the scope variable, those areas you have to give ng model. Otherwise, you can use ng bind or normal expressions. Did I answer your question, Ashok? From Mandan, we have a question. What if we don't pass scope variable in while defining the AngularJS? So if you are not passing the scope variable right here, what will happen? It can't find the scope variable right here inside the AngularJS. It will throw undefined. So if you are trying to access the scope variable, it will throw undefined because you are not at all passing the scope variable. It will throw undefined, so you can't access your application. So from Bin Patel, we have a question. Can you give the example of multiple modules? In this webinar is all about just 1 hour because today we can't discuss about it. But I will give you the overview of multiple modules and why do we need to use it. For example, just consider in your project you have n number of modules. One is just to create the user information and to process the user other things. The another one is kind of admin UI and other stuff. Okay, you have, so in your domain itself you have two kind of project. Okay, in the two project itself you will be using a same kind of component like a chart. You can, for example, we can take a chart, bar chart, line chart, other things. So you can create those chart components as a module. So the same module you should be able to access it in multiple projects. At that time we will be creating multiple modules and we will be accessing it in our applications. This is the basic overview and the usage of creating multiple modules in Angular applications. From Abhishek, we have a question. Can we call module to module? Exactly. So what do you want to do? So let me create one more module. For example, this basic module where app2 equal to angular dot module of let me take this out. Oh, yeah, great. Angular dot module of module 2. Okay. Comma, I don't want any other dependency. So here also I can define everything, all the controllers, filters, factories, whatever you can do, everything can be declared right here also. App2 dot, I'm going to create a basic constant. constant also one of the feature available in AngularJS. I'm going to create a constant name equal to Dinesh. Okay, so this variable will be passed. So what I can do, I created a module. So you can use this module as a dependency of the another application. Now we have injected this module to another module. Right here, you should be able to access this constant. You can pass the constant as a one more dependency injection to the controller as a name. Right here, you should be able to access the name. So if you try to type the name, it will give Dinesh over there. Okay, this is how we will be using multiple modules in our application, and you can inject the module within another module. So from Ashok we have a question. What will happen if I try to use ng model instead of ng bind in the span itself? It won't give any other information, or it won't give any data. So it will give a empty span over there. From Lokesh we have a question. Data scope is a parent scope of your test controller. Actually, it is not a parent scope of your test controller. So whenever you create a controller, each and every controller will be having its own scope variable. This scope is specific to your controller. Right? The parent scope is for this specific controller is, now we don't have any other outer controller for this. So the parent scope is only root scope. Root scope is a parent scope of this controller. This scope is only meant to the test controller. It is not a parent scope. Okay, so we spent time on this two-way binding. Let's move to the next module. So I know that I didn't answer for some of your guys' questions. So what you can do, you can send out the question to support team, or you can post it over there in our Edureka blog also. So we'll be answering it over there. Because if I spend more time on this answering the questions, we may not be able to cover the other topics. So let's go over here. The next one. Great. Okay. Next one is Angular UI. So in our normal jQuery applications, we have the Bootstrap JS file. So whoever is a UI developer might have used this Bootstrap JS file. So what do we get the Bootstrap is? One is the CSS and the next one is the JS file. Using the CSS, you should be able to create a responsive web application, which you can use it in the mobile, laptop, tablet, wherever it is. So it will automatically adjust to it because of this responsive thing, whatever they built. They are using the internally media queries and the grid view. That's why it is becoming too responsive. In the same way, so what they are doing, they have created the JavaScript file also. Using the JavaScript file, if you want to create a model or anything else, what we do, we'll be taking the DOM element. For the DOM element, we'll be binding the event. This is how we will be doing. So if you are using normal JavaScript or jQuery, you can do those things. But in AngularJS, we never play with the DOM object. We will be, whatever we are doing, we will be doing with the data only. We never touches the DOM, right? So if we are doing it like that, then how can I access this kind of Bootstrap? I want to open a pop-up in my application. So how can I do this? I can't write everything from my scratch for this, right? So what they have done, some other people has created all the Bootstrap functionalities as a Angular module. Okay. Let's go to our small example. Here we have created a module, right? In the same way, we have created one more module for a Bootstrap. In this module, now we have just only one thing called the constant column. Instead of this, they will be having all the functionalities like model and the pop-up. What is it? Sorry, model and pop-up is the same. Accordion, popover, alert box, small alert box, whatever you have it in the Twitter Bootstrap. So they created everything as each and everything as small modules or the services. So once you declare this Bootstrap as a dependency injection of your application, so you should be able to access all the Bootstrap functionalities in your module. So that is what the use of UI Angular Bootstrap. Okay. So in this UI Angular, we can have multiple components like Angular Stack is there, Angular Bootstrap is there, and some other stuff also is available. But if you ask me, the Angular UI Bootstrap component is having all the Bootstrap functionalities. That would be really stable, and I used it for nearly 2 years. I'm not facing any other issues, and we are having more functionalities also over there. Okay, so how does it Angular UI components is working, and how can I use it? So first, what you have to do is you have to download the JavaScript file of your UI Bootstrap component, because once you include this JavaScript file in your HTML, then only you should be able to access that in your application, right? So what you have to do, first you have to download UI Bootstrap from the Angular directives. So this is what the link for Angular UI Bootstrap. So go over here. From here you can download all the required JavaScript and CSS file. So this Bootstrap mostly using all a normal Bootstrap CSS only. So with this you can download the CSS, or you can download it from our normal Bootstrap CSS also. Anything is possible. So what you will be doing, you will be downloading all the required JS and Bootstrap file. In the JS file, you will be having all the AngularJS component. Let's take a look at JS file, Bootstrap JS file, okay? I'm going to close it. I don't want this one because it may confuse you if you have multiple files. Let's go here, Angular UI. So mostly what I will do, instead of downloading its specific website or other stuff, I will be using a Bower tool. So which, with the help of the Bower tool, I should be able to download all the components. So let me show you the basic thing. How can we do that also? Okay. Let me open this HTML file. Control Shift T, it will take me to my terminal. So if I'm using a Bower, if I want to download any other client side components, what I will be doing, just let me go inside client. So here only I wanted to install my any other new client side component. So if I want to download any other component, what I will do, Bower install whatever that component name. If I want the Bootstrap and other stuff, just I will type Bootstrap. So it will download it from the repository, it will include it in our application. This is the simplest way of downloading the client side components using Bower 1. So it has downloaded the Bootstrap 3.3.5. Okay, if you see, go to our physical location of the Bower components, you can see the Bootstrap. It is available right here. Okay. Okay, this is how we will be downloading the components. Already I have downloaded the Angular Bootstrap and Angular Bootstrap, jQuery, everything is available. Let's take a look at this Bootstrap JS. So what we have? Drop right here. So if you see over here, they have created a module called UI Bootstrap. So however we created the basic module 2. In the same way they have the UI Bootstrap module, which has more functionality. Each and every functionality. The collapse will be a directive, and if you see the model, so you can see right here. So model provider and model is a service, whatever they have created, and model instance, other stuffs are they are using. Okay, so whatever the functionalities we have it in the Bootstrap. So all the functionalities has been created as a modules or services or directives, whatever you can use it in the same way they have created in the UI Bootstrap JS itself. So we downloaded the JS and we have included in our script.js. So one is Bower Angular file, the next one is bootstrap.min.js. This is what it is having, all the information. Next one, the UI Bootstrap templates. Okay, so this template only will be giving. So if I am opening a pop-up, what you need to do, the pop-up should have its own header, footer, model, body, everything, because you won't be writing everything, just you will be giving the information which will be displayed in the pop-up only. So you have to create everything, or it has to give this backdrop and other stuff, right? So that will be available right here in the templates. In the same way, if you are using tab, the tab should have the header and other stuff. All kind of templates will be available right here with the template cache. It will be serving those files to our applications. Okay. Now we have included AngularJS, Bootstrap and Bootstrap TPLs in our file. Next one, we have to get that look and feel also. For that look and feel, we are including Bootstrap min.css. It is a good practice. You have to include all the CSS in the top of your application or in the head part, all the JSS in your body or under the application. Because what will happen, whenever you load the application, all the CSS will be applied. The functionality, whenever the clicking and other stuff they will be doing once the application is loaded. So it will improve the performance of your application. It will load faster. Okay, that's why we are doing it in this specific way. Next, what I am doing, so first we have created the same way. We have created one app called demo, ng-app is a demo, and we have a controller, the test controller. So let's open the script file, whatever we have. The script file, what we have done, so we have created Angular module to called demo, and we are passing UI Bootstrap as a dependency to it. Then if you pass this UI Bootstrap as a dependency, you should be able to access all the functionalities whatever available in the Bootstrap. You should be able to access it in the applications. Right here, this Bootstrap is having $model service, which will be helpful to create a model for you. Okay. Now, what I wanted to do, so let's go over here and click on some particular button. I wanted to open a model. In the model, I have to display this information. This is what I wanted to do. Right here, we will be having a model header, model body, model footer, whatever needs to be displayed. Because if you are giving it in the model header, automatically our Bootstrap CSS will be applied and it will give it in the proper way. Okay, and the close button also will be available right here. In the same way, I am creating two kind of buttons. One is save and cancel. I have some kind of data over there. So what I want to, let me run this application. Okay, let's open a new command prompt, or I can do it from here also. I created as a node app, so it's running and it's listening to 3000 port. Let me open that. Localhost 3000. Now I have just one button. Whenever I click on this particular button, what will happen? So you can see it over here. The button, it will call our AngularJS open method. On click on this, it will call this open method. Let's go over here. In the controller, we have that $scope.open method. Once it calls, it will come inside it. Inside, we are creating an instance for our model. So this $model service has been injected to the controller. Then the $model.open and whatever the template we have or the script file you included, right? So this is the template we have. You can have it as a template or separate file also. You should be able to serve it. But instead of creating a separate file, I created a ng template. I am serving this template to the file. Okay. So I am getting the template. I am passing the template as a template URL right here. Then if it is a small pop-up, I don't need to create any other controllers. For example, I have a large pop-up and I wanted to do some kind of complex logics over there. So to create a controller, in the controller will be acting as a separate controller for it. You should be able to access all the functionalities. Okay, so I'm going to create a controller. This is the controller user CTRL. Then I wanted to pass some kind of data from my controller to this pop-up controller. So how can I do? In the result, I can be able to pass the data. So whenever I click on this open model, it will open the model pop-up, and this is the controller for this pop-up. So this is the user controller, and the controller will be having $scope, model instance, and the user. Using the model instance only, we will be looking for the close event, or if we want to pass the data to the pop-up, or from the pop-up to the parent controller, if we want to pass the data, we will be using this $model instance. Then in this model pop-up, let's take a look at in the model pop-up. In the model pop-up, you can see we have a save, cancel, and others kind of buttons, right? So what does it happen? Whenever I click on this $scope.save button, it will call this one, and we have a $model instance service, which service will close the pop-up and it gives some information whatever I have that will be passed to the parent controller. So it is passed. Okay, the passed event, how can I access it in the parent controller? So if you're from here, you are throwing the data, or if you are just cricket player, what do we do? Here we'll be throwing the ball from here. Someone has to catch the ball, right? So how can we catch the ball? So let's take a look into our parent controller. In the parent controller, we will be having a instance. So once you create a pop-up, it will create an instance of your model that will be available. So instance.result, it will be a promise variable. Once you close the pop-up, or if you are doing any other operation, so it will come to this promise variable. It gets the data, whatever the data you are passing from here. So I'm passing the scope.name, whatever the scope.name I defined right here. So the data will be available right here, and if it throws any other error, it will go over here and it will give that error message. For instead of error message, I have created a normal console log. Let's take a look. How does it happen? So you click on open on this particular model, it will go to this, and from this particular instance we have opened the model. Here there is nothing we printed as a console log. But if I close the model, what is happening? You can see it over here. Whenever I click on the save, we are passing $scope.name. So what is the $scope.name? Dinesh. So that will be passed, and whatever passed, I wanted to print it right here, right? If I'm printing, if you want to do any other business logic also, you should be able to implement on this side. Now I'm just printing it over here. So let's click on the save. That data you can see it over here. So this is the one we are passing it from the pop-up. Okay. Now this is fine, but I want to pass some data from controller to pop-up. How can I do? We will be doing it from the result, right? Already I have defined a scope variable that is called users, which is having name as Dinesh, designation as UI developer. So what I am doing in the result, I am passing this user information. Then what will happen in your controller of your pop-up? You will be having $scope, model instance, as well as the user variable. Let's print the user variable right here. Console.log user. Refresh the application. Whenever I open a pop-up, the resolve method will trigger. It will initialize the controller. If it initializes the controller, it will be going over here. It will take this user as a dependency injection. It will print it on this console message. Let's click on the open. It is printing the data. Here you can see whatever I defined in my parent controller, that is available right here. Name Dinesh, designation UI developer. In this way, we will be passing the data from our parent controller to this pop-up controller. In the same way, we have all the components. If you want, just go and take a look on this UI bootstrap for AngularJS. Let's go down. So let's check whatever the components we have. One is the accordion. So which click on this, it will collapse others and gives the data. In the same way, we have this alert box. If you click on this, it will close alert. If you want to show some kind of small alert box on your applications, we should be able to use this alert also. So each and every components will be a small modules will be available in the UI bootstrap.min.js. So once you inject this module as a dependency injection to your application, you should be able to access all of these modules in the web page. Mostly if you ask me what are all the useful stuff is, one is the date picker. This is really useful stuff in this UI bootstrap, because if you are making any other kind of calendars, instead of searching for a third-party modules, you can use this UI bootstrap also. The next one is model. Because without a model, you can't build any other web application. Because if you want to get the information or show the information to the user, we can use the model. That is really good way of showing the informations. This is how the model, what are all the functionalities we have, everything is displayed right here. It is well documented, and this Angular UI will give a rich look for your web application if you include with our Angular applications. Okay, so this is what Angular UI. So do you guys have any other question regarding Angular UI or these components? If yes, you can post it in our question window. From Ashok, we have a question. When service objects get created? Ashok, can you bit elaborate what does that service object means? So okay, let's go to that. Let's go to the next one. All the Angular modules get loaded on initialization of ng app. it is actually, it will be loaded to the browser DOM. Let's go to our file. You can see it in the index.js. So whatever data you mentioned right here, everything will be loaded to the browser DOM. But once you inject those modules as a dependency injection to our application, then only you should be able to access. But if you're launching the application, this has been mentioned in our index.html itself. So once you are getting the file, it will be loaded in the browser DOM. From Nidhi, we have a question. If I want to use a single template of model for few different model, which will execute different data, is it possible and how? Yeah, that is really possible. What you can do, I mean, the data whatever you are going to pass, that might be the single structured data. If you are using a single structured data, you should be able to use a single model pop-up itself. I will show you how can you do. Okay, let's go to our page. Here I have a information of the particular user. Then the same information I am passing to the model, and in your model controller right here you can pass the data from your controller. I have one is user controller and the next one is the admin controller. In the both controller, what I want to do, in the admin controller, if I click on the button, I want to show the admin information. If a user controller, if I click on the button, I wanted to show the user information. What I will be doing, I will be creating a single model pop-up or single template. Instead of creating as a script file, I will create a template.html itself. I will create a HTML, I will keep it in my applications. So whenever they click on some particular button, I will create a separate instance. One instance for my user and another instance for my admin. For each and every instance, whatever data I wanted to pass, I will be passing the data from my parent controller. So this data will be accessible from your child controller. You should be able to write a particular way, access the controller and display the information accordingly to the template. So here what do we have? We will be having only one template, one controller. But the data whatever we are passing, that is different. In that way you can design a pop-up. Did I answer your question? From Anbar, we have a question. If you want to have a common header and footer dynamic variable with all the pages, what can we do? So for this, what you can do is you can create a page. Within that page, you can have a view. Okay. So top will be considered as a, let's go here. I'm not going to create a full stuff. Let me create a basic one. Let me create this stuff like this. I'm going to save it as a test.html. Okay, so div, which will be having one more div is a header, class header. Here write your all the logics inside the header div. Okay, next we'll be having one is body. So here we will be having all the body logic. The last one will be the footer. Here the footer. Now instead of the body, it can't be the same, right? It will be keep on changing. So here implement UI view or ng view. So because of this UI view or ng view, you should be able to load different type of template within the body. Here your header and footer is fixed. Only you will be loading the specific templates in the body using UI view or ng view. That is what we are calling it as a routers in AngularJS. From Ashok, we have a question. Any of the services which are injected as a dependencies like HTTP or anything. Yeah. So whenever you are injecting a service, at the time only it is those service will be called. Otherwise, you can call this service as okay. The factories are services you might have seen, right? So whatever the AngularJS services you are creating, those are all singleton object. So it will be getting instantiated only once. Once you are injecting the service or whenever you are declaring the app, at the time itself the service will get instantiated. That's it. It won't get instantiated each and every time whenever you pass to the multiple controllers. For example, if you ask me, in my project we have nearly 15 controllers. Each and every controller we are using this $HTTP service. But each and every time whenever I inject the $HTTP service as a dependency injection to the controller, if it get instantiated, it will affect the performance. So the services are a singleton object, it will get instantiated only once. From Binti Patel, we have a question: what is resolve? There is a resolve. Two things is there. One, if you are using the promises and other stuff, you might know about the resolve. So in the promises, what we have is once the data came to your application, we will be resolving the promise. We will pass the data to the another function. In the same way, in the Bootstrap also we are using the resolve method right here. So what does it do is, once you get the data, this data will be, so here only will be marking everything. If you want to pass multiple data to your pop-up controller, everything will be marked in the resolve. So if the resolved, then only it will go to the controller and it will instantiate it. Otherwise, what might have happened is, I pass the data won't be available right here. I will be trying to use it. So it will throw error. To avoid it only, we will be using resolves in your pop-up. From Narendran, we have a question: can we display a form register in the model? Exactly. So what you can do, just right here in our application, let's go to this, not this one, this one. So here, just you are showing only the name. It is already a scope variable only. Instead of the scope variable, you can create a normal like binary expression. Instead of that, you can create it as a ng model. Display all the models. Okay, this is the model for name and user age, description, whatever it is. So you will be getting all the user information. Whenever you click on the save, I am just passing the name alone. Instead of that, pass all the user information whenever you click on the save. So it will be available in your controller. From your controller, that is your parent controller, you can pass the data to the DB or the server. That is possible. From Dinesh, we have a question. In that way, will the URL be changed accordingly to the page? I'm not getting your question clearly, Dinesh. Can you rephrase your question? Okay. So anyway, we have two more modules. Let's skip this questioning part. I will be answering for your question later. Let's move to our Angular Animate. Okay, great. So Angular Animate. So why do we need this animation? Whatever you build application, it may have some kind of super duper functionalities, or it can be the faster other stuff. It has to cover the user. It has to attract the user. Okay. So if you are giving some kind of cool animation to it, they will be feeling, wow, this is really awesome. This looks richness. Everything will be given from the animation. Okay. The same way, whatever the pop-up you have seen in the last example, the old pop-up are normal alert messages. How does it come? Just it will come on the browser. Okay. It's like hitting us. Okay. Instead of that, what I want to do, it should come like zooming or from the top just down. Okay. From the top to down, just come. Otherwise, it has to come like a fade in, fade out. Okay. If it comes like this, it will be really cool. It won't like a hitting on the browser, right? So for that, what we will be doing, we will be using the ng animate module. The ng animate module won't be having any other special CSS code or anything. What does it do is, it will be having a directive which look for other directive changes. If some specific directive changes, it will add class to that particular element. So for that class, you have to write your own CSS. This ng-animate is a normal directive which adds a particular class or removes a class from your element only. And depends on this adding or removing the class, we will be writing our own transitions. Whatever you wanted to do, you can do it. Okay. So where and all this ng-animate is supported? One is this ng-animate is supported on these following directives. That is ng-repeat, ng-view, ng-include, if and messages. On these directives, you should be able to access ng-animate module. Okay, so how can we use this ng-animate in our applications? So if you want to use the ng-animate, however, for example, if you want to use the Bootstrap module, what we have done? First, we have downloaded the Bootstrap file and included in our HTML page. Then, we have to include that module as a dependencies to our AngularJS application. In the same way, we should be able to download that ng-animate file, then include this ng-animate as a dependencies to your application. Then you should be able to access all the ng-animate functionalities. Okay. In ng-animate, we have two things. One is CSS based animation and another one is JavaScript based animation. Okay, as discussed earlier, this animate won't do any other CSS stuff for you. Just you will add class or remove class only. For that particular class, you can write a CSS using the normal style or CSS files. Otherwise, using our jQuery or the basic JavaScript also, you should be able to write a CSS. Let's take an example. I have a particular div. If I want to hide the div, what I will be doing, you can write two ways, right? One is I can make it the CSS display none. It will hide the div. Otherwise, if I am using jQuery, what I can do, dollar of that particular element dot hide. That will also hide that particular div. In the same way, you should be able to write a CSS for this ng-animate module in using the CSS or the JavaScript. Okay, let's go to this practical instead of seeing more theory on this one. Let's go over here. Where is it? Yeah, here it is. Now let me close the stuff, whatever I have it. Otherwise it may confuse. We have more files. No, close, done. Now you can see what are all the files I have. One is our AngularJS file. If you want to write an AngularJS application, we need that. The next one is AngularAnimate.min.js. Here what I have written, my functionalities. Next, if I want to access these animation using a JavaScript, I am a bit poor in the JavaScript, but I am a bit comfortable using jQuery. So I included the jQuery also. Instead of using the raw JavaScript, I use the jQuery. Okay, but these two files are mandatory. Let's open our index.html and custom.js. Oh man, great. Nice. Okay. So here, what we are doing, first I am declaring an app. So you can name it whatever you want. Just I am calling this application as an ng-animate. Last time we have seen only the demo, the name is a demo. But here I am marking it as a ng-animate. Let's go to the next custom.js. Here I declared my module as ng-animate and I am passing this ng-animate as a dependencies to the application. So if you want to pass the ng-animate as a dependencies, what you have to do? First you have to declare your ng-animate file. So you can see right here in the script I already included the ng-animate file also. So I should be able to pass this as a dependency injection to the application. Now I have been passed to this one. Let's take a look. Here what I have is have the basic fade me in or out. So whenever I click on this particular button, I have just a ng if directive. What it will do, it will take or it will remove it from the application. That's what it will do, the ng if kind of show hide. So we'll be using this. So whenever I make it as a true, it will be visible. If I make it as a false, it will be displayed. Normally, if I am not at all using any other ng-animate, what will happen? Just it will come and go. Let me show that also. what I'm going to do, I will be removing this. Let me open it in the browser. Okay. So whenever I click, just you can see it over here, the transition, nothing is there, just it is coming and going, right? So I don't want like this, I want the fade effect, slowly it has to come. Okay, so for that, again let me include it back. Great, it is done. Now what I'm going to do, you can clearly see this, but it will go a little bit faster. Let me see, yeah, right here. So what I'm going to, whenever I click on this fade in or fade out, on this class, the ng-animate directive will add specific class to it. Okay, so that's if some specific class like enter, out, leave and other things are, whenever it start fading, it will append the class called enter. Once it's faded, it will add the class called leave, and then everything will be removed from this DOM. This is how it will happen. So I'm going to click on this button. You can look over here, ng, but it will be in seconds. Okay, it will not even 2 seconds or 3 seconds, just a second. It will show add the class, it will leave the class. Let me just have a look over here. Click. Okay, now you can see. Great. You can see right here, right? So it is just adding the class. It is just in the matter of seconds only. So let's take a look over here what is happening. Whenever I click on this, first it will add one class called ng-enter. Then it will make a class ng-enter as active. Next ng-leave. So what we are doing, whenever the class has become a ng-enter, so the fade only we are calling. So whenever the class has become a ng-enter, at the time we are making the opacity as 0 and we are using the CSS3 transition. So we are making from opacity as 0 to 1, it will give this fade effect because you are using the CSS3 transition. Then once after the enter, it will append one more class called active. Okay, there is king. That time it will add one more class, that is ng active. So once this class has been added, this opacity has then become 1. So slowly this opacity will increase from 0 to 1 because of this CSS3 transition. This is how we will be adding animations over here in the application. Next one is, you can see this search box, right? So I am using normal ng repeat directive over here. Using the search, I should be able to search the data. Let me search it over here. So it will give some kind of slow animation. Just 1 minute, I think so. Somewhere I missed. Okay. So it is giving the animation but a bit faster. That's why I am not able to see it. You can see it now. Can you see this one? So slowly it is getting hidden. It is not hidden like that. Just slowly you can see this one. Okay. So this is what we are implementing using the ng-animate also. But I'm writing very minimal of CSS code. That's why you are not able to see the animation. After that, I will show you somewhere I have written all the animations. It will give you the more interactive look over there. Okay, I will show you that also. For a small demo, I have written a basic code, just fade in, fade out, all of. Now, first you have seen whatever we implemented using our CSS. But right here, we have one more step. For this specific module, I wanted to add animation. So what I am doing, on this module, add animation for a specific class. Here, in the ng repeat, you can see, we have added a class called slide, right? So on this class, I am writing animations. On this, whenever enter happens, for that element, add fade in. If move happens, add again fade in as this one. And if it leaves, just make this fade out. Now what will happen? So whenever I search out, this will trigger this leave. So there will be a ng leave will be triggered, and the ng leave class will be added to this application. But through the JavaScript we are accessing, that's why it will access through the key. In these two kind of ways, we should be able to add animations to our AngularJS application. Okay, this is fine. But this one, whatever we have seen, that is not that much looking good. Let me show you. Already I built on the AngularJS application with this cool animation. Let me show that. what is this node app? Yeah. What is it, man? It's throwing an error. Already somewhere this app is running. Let me stop it if it runs. Yeah, right here it is running. That's why. Close this. Okay, now it is running. It's running on port number 3000. Let me go somewhere. I think it's already I'm running this 3000. Refresh. Okay. Now you can see this application. Now each and every NG view or UI view, I have written this cool animation stuff. If I click on this register, what will happen? It will just move over here. It will show the register button. If I click on the back, it will move right here. Forget password, right this side and that side. So if I log in, see what is happening. Then, oh man, it's a wrong password. The test. Yeah, now you can see that each and every way I have implemented the animations. So like this, for not only the NG view, if I use all the repeat and other stuff, each and every places I have used this NG animate directive to create a proper this kind of rich look and feel. Like this, if you are really good at the CSS, you should be able to create AngularJS applications with this kind of NG animate directive. So do you guys have any other questions regarding this NG animate using the CSS and JavaScript? Okay. From Dinesh, we've already asked the question. If I wanted to load a view on this particular body, whatever we discussed, right? The header and footer we will be having. In the body, if we want to load the different stuff, will it change the URL? Yes, exactly. So if the URL changes, if I use NG router or UI router, we can create a configurations. On the configuration, using the configuration, you should be able to load the body inside UI view or NG view. That time URL will be changing on the header. So that will happen. From Anbarasan we have a question. If I am using a common header and the footer, but we can't have the page index UI view, how do we get a page's index for the meta tag or analytics? Okay. So if you can't have the view, so how do we load the different pages in the body? So for example, what you are talking, so in the header I will be showing only my website name and just some contact information. In the footer I will be showing the copyrights and contact us, whatever it is, contact me through the FB and other stuff. Then in between, whatever the body you have, first I wanted to show the user, home page. Then next if I click on something else, I wanted to show the settings page. So without using the UI view, you can't load any other template or controller over there. For that you have to use the UI view. But using the UI, that's the only reason AngularJS has implemented router concept. From Ashok we have a question. Does NG animate impact the performance of your application? Anyway, you are loading one more file and it is not such a big file. It is just in the KB only. Like you can say it's 70 or maximum 100 KB size only. It won't affect the performance much. But whatever the CSS you are writing, that does matter. Okay. Now, and the search I am doing. Instead of fading, I am giving like a 1000 milliseconds or 10,000 milliseconds. The search, AngularJS search will happen in a fraction of seconds. But to apply the fade, already I have given for 10,000 seconds, 10,000 milliseconds, that will take much time to update it. So if you are doing it in that way, that will be affecting the performance. You have to make sure how you are implementing the transitions. From Narendra, we have a question. NG repeat is slow for large application. Is there any alternative method for that? Narendra, just I wanted to know what is the number of data you are using in this NG repeat. So because I tried till 200 data to 500 data, it is giving the result. It is not much slow also. That is really good. I don't know how much size of data you are accessing. So if you want to improve the performance of your AngularJS application, but you can combine it with the React. So what will happen in the ng repeat, it will look through your data and it will hide the data whatever you don't have. Now the regex expression, however, you will be using in the JavaScript. In the same way, internally you use the regex expression, it will search for your data size. Okay, so in the data, if it finds that specific word, it will remove it from there. Okay, this is how the Angular ng repeat is working. But with this AngularJS, if you are binding the React also, what will happen? This updating the view in Angular bit slow. For that, you can use the React. So you can make a proper and good performance application with the help of Angular and React. So this React will work as a view of your application. In the Angular, you can use other functionalities. From Anshul, we have a question. Can I get this video or tutorial of this webinar? I missed some initial slides and I got it from. Okay. So you can send out a mail to our support team. So they should be able to share the video. Otherwise, it will be available in our Edureka website. You can take a look from there. Narendran is telling he is using 100 data over there. I'm pretty much sure, Narendran, I used it till this 200 data. It is not much slow. You can check your Angular version, and if it is a single binder data, you can make that also one-way binding instead of two-way binding, because you are not going to edit anywhere, just the search only. Make it as a one-way binding, so it should improve the performance. From Bin Patel, we have a question. Any example of Ajax call? But in this module, we are not going to cover this Ajax call stuff. Once we complete everything, all this unit test case for AngularJS also, if we have a time, I will let you know how can we create $HTTP services in AngularJS. Next, from Lokesh, we have a question. If I have 2 lakh data in the JSON object, is it possible to use it in ng repeat? And what is the best practice? To be frank, Lokesh, if you are binding 2 lakh data, 2 lakh object in the UI view, it will crash the browser. This is what will happen. I tried it. I am not having more than 20,000 data points. So what happened is, I created a very large amount of graph. In the large graph, my x-axis will be the years of data. I have 20 years data. Each and every date, I will be having the data. On this particular date, this is the information. This particular date, this is the information. For that data, I tried to draw a graph. Using AngularJS custom widgets, I created a normal line graph. I tried to plot it. So whenever I try it, so if you are having a very large amount of data, what does it do? It will crash your browser. You can't handle this kind of large amount of data in the browser. So, but instead you want to show the information. So how can you show? In the server side, process the data, give the streaming data. Otherwise, implement pagination in your client side. First, 1 year information, next another year information. Otherwise, implement the kind of calendar or other stuff. Split the data and show it in the UI. If you are trying to handle very large amount of data, it will crash your browser. It depends on your browser machine memory also. For example, if you are using only 4 GB machine and you are running multiple servers and other stuff, not even 10,000 record or 20,000 record, if you are trying to process in the browser, it will crash it. So mostly you will have to avoid if you are having large amount of data set in the browser. From Jitish, we have a question. Is there any framework AngularJS integrated with Struts framework, just like Struts Bootstrap? Okay, so AngularJS itself is a MVC framework. So what you can do, whatever the framework you are using it in the backend, that doesn't matter. You can create, what you are going to create from the server side, you will be exposing a web APIs. We will be consuming the web APIs alone in the AngularJS framework. So we don't have any combined framework like a Struts Bootstrap. So what you can do, only you can expose the web APIs alone from the server side. You will be consuming the web APIs in AngularJS. From Lokesh, we have a question. Is there any option to create a custom directive for it? If you want to handle large amount of whatever it is, so if you are giving 2 lakh data to the browser, that's it. It will crash the browser. What you can create a custom directive or whatever. You are going to process the data. Your browser can't handle very large amount of data. Otherwise, what you have to do? You should avoid loop through the data. Just don't do anything. Bind it in the view. But still, whenever you are binding it to the view also, internally AngularJS looping those data for you. That time it may crash your browser. The best practice or my suggestion is don't use very large amount of data. If you have it, do some kind of pagination and show the data, or implement the lazy loading. That is the best way. Get only first 1000 data, bind it to the UI, next 1000 data, next like that. So that is the best way. Okay, let's move to the unit testing. We have 10 more minutes. So in our Edureka, we have one blog for NGAnimate itself. You can see this link right here. On this link, you can see and you can learn about more NGAnimate. Next one, unit testing. So what is it, unit testing? Okay. So whenever we build a web application, each and every developer has to write their own unit test cases. Because if you implement a particular functionality, only if you are doing only the manual testing, we may miss some kind of functionalities. So it causes some kind of errors. That is not at all good. So the server-side developers who are working, they will be writing the unit test case for each and every function or method they are implementing. In the same way, anyway we are using the MVC framework only on the client side also. Here also we should be able to implement unit test cases in our applications. Okay. So how can we write a basic unit test cases for AngularJS applications? In the AngularJS application, we will be using some kind of tool called Karma. With the help of this Karma tool, we will be building an end-to-end unit test cases for AngularJS. So whatever the methods we are writing, we will be creating the test cases. So how does that unit test cases work? First, we will be creating our functions. Then we will write a test case for that. Then we will watch whether the test case is success or not. So if the test case is failed, again we will be seeing the code, run the make the changes wherever it fails, and again run the code. It will check whether it is success or not. If success, we will be losing it. This is how we will be normally testing the flow of writing unit test cases in the AngularJS web application. Okay, let's take a look in the code what we have and how can we implement a unit test cases for AngularJS. Okay, let me close these things. Oh man, great. I made a simple node application, just leave it, it doesn't make sense. Okay. Here, so if you want to make a AngularJS application, if you want to test it, so how can we do? Let me show this one first. Node app, okay. It is running on port number 3000. Let's open that. You can see it. So what I have is just simple thing. One is some 2 text boxes. Whatever the information I am giving, it has to add and it needs to show the result. That's what I have implemented. Let's take a look into our client components of what I have. One is custom.js. This is where I have implemented the file. Next one is index.js. Where is it? Here, yeah. Okay. So in the index.js you can see just I have two text boxes. One is the variable 1 and another one is the variable 2. I'm just adding these two variables and giving the result right here. Here also you can see it is really simple. Whenever I click on the add method, I'm taking these two variables, converting into an integer, adding to this variable and keeping it in this scope variable to call sum. It is pretty much simple functionality. It's simple, only one method I have, just consider. So for this method, if I want to write a unit test cases, how can you write? So to write a unit test case, we need to install Karma in our machine. So once you install the Karma, you have to create a configuration for this Karma app. Okay. So how can we create a configuration? Let's take a look on this Karma configuration. You can see it over here. In the Karma, what is the framework you wanted to use? Now I will be using just a Jasmine framework on this Karma to write our unit test cases. So just I made it as a Jasmine. Then what are all the files you have? First you need this Angular min file, then the mock.js. So here in the write the unit test cases, we are not going to run on the browser or we are not going to provide any other information. So we have to mock everything. Create your module, create your controller. For that we will be using this Angular mock. Next one is custom.js. This is where you have implemented your functionality. What the last one is the spec. Here I will be writing my unit test cases. These are all the files I will be using, this I mentioned. Next, if I run the unit test cases, where do I need to run? Already my port is running on 9000 port, so let me create in some other port. You can give whatever you want. Now I have given this 8080. Then if you want to show some kind of colors in the unit test cases, yes, I want to show to differentiate it. And if I make any other changes in the file while unit test case is running, so do we need to watch that file and again do you want me to refresh the testing or do you want me to refresh the server? Yes, we want to do. So for that I will be giving watch as true and where I wanted to run the unit test case. It has to run on the Chrome browser. So just I have created my configuration file for the Karma. Okay. So now I have this functionality. One is I have two variables, add this variable, the result will be in the sum. So for this, how can I write a unit test case? Let's see the unit test case file. In the unit test case file, you can see we have to be having only four methods. One is the describe method, before each, it and expect. In the describe method only, we will be grouping through multiple test cases using the describe method. So if I have a particular controller, in the controller you can have n number of methods. So each and every method will be grouped on this. So for this controller I want to do, so I am making it as a test controller, I am creating it in the describe. Next one, before each. Before I write the test cases or before I run the test cases, if I want to do something, all the functionalities I will be writing inside this before each. In the before each, anyway we won't be having the module, that's why I am creating the module. For this module, in the same way we are creating the controller also. On this controller, I want to pass the scope variables. Okay, we have created all the modules and controllers in the before each before we write the test cases or before we run the test cases. Then I want to write the test case. So how can you do? Already I have the variable 1 and variable 2 in my original JS file or my original controller. So here I am creating the same variable and I am passing some data. For this variable I am going to give it as a 20, another variable I am giving it as a 10. Okay. Then whatever the method I have it in the controller, you can see it over here in the controller I have a method called add, right? So I am calling that method. So what does that method do? Just it will add these two variables and it will give the result to scope.sum. So then let's go over here. What I am doing, I am calling this method. Then we have the expect method. Here we are passing the sum. We are expecting the sum to be 30. So you know if you add these two, it has to give 30 only. This is what our testing. So let's see whether this is giving success or error. Let's go over here. I'm going to stop the server. So how can we start this Karma testing? Karma, because already installed in my machine, that's why I should be able to access this tool. Start karma.conf. So whenever I start this karma.configuration, it is launching on the same port whatever I mentioned in the configuration 8080, and it is launching it in the Chrome browser. Okay, so then it is giving the result. I executed one test case and one is passed, because if I add this 20 and 30, it will be giving 30 only. But let's make this one. In the here I am going to create one more functionality. $scope.subtract equal to function. Let's take the same example. Come on. Okay. So here I wanted to sub and store the result in sub. Okay, if I want to write a test case, so how can I write? Right here first, so we will be grouping through all the test cases in the same controller. I have the same controller, same module, so I can use it right here itself. It sub, you can give name whatever you want. Function, so for the scope variable 1, I want to pass 30. Next, the variable I want to pass 20. Scope.add, at this time I wanted to call this subtract method. Once it's subtracted, it will have the result in the scope sub. So in the expect, check for the subtract variable to be, so what we are expecting, it should be 10. This is what we are expecting. Okay, let's run the test case again. Yes, I want to stop this, run the test case. It's running. So here you can see it has run 2 test cases and the one has been failed. So it is because of some kind of error what we have written it in our application. Okay, so this is how we will be writing the basic test cases, because the variable 1 and variable 1 only. So what will happen? The variable 2 will be empty, right? So let's make it as a variable 2. Let's see it. Now the 2, we run 2 test cases, the 2 is success. But what I am going to do, intentionally I am going to make a mistake over here. Instead of minus, I made it as a plus. Let's take a look. Here it will give a clear answer. If we make this kind of mistakes, it will give the result right here. So okay, I ran 2 test cases, 1 is failed. This is how we will be writing the test cases in AngularJS. Do you guys have any other question? If yes, you can post it in the question window. Okay, let's move to the next slide. We'll finish these kind of topics, then we can move to the question. First one is in Edureka, we are conducting this AngularJS courses. In the AngularJS courses, whatever topics we will be covering. One is the first module will be covering introduction to JavaScript framework and why do we need to use AngularJS, why do we need to use MVC framework in the client side and other stuff. Each and every module will be 3 hours of that. 3 hours. Okay, the next one we will be discussing about dependency injections and the multiple controllers and inheritance of the controllers and other stuff. Third module will be discussing about the routes using ngView and the UI view and the directives. Last one is the filters. In fourth module, we will be discussing about the custom directives. How can you create using AngularJS, as well as the custom filters. In fifth module, we will be discussing about third-party useful AngularJS modules and how can we write a end-to-end unit test cases for AngularJS web application. Sixth one, we will be discussing about the Node.js, Yeoman, REST and other kind of server-side tool to build a mean stack web application. At last, we will be discussing about the project. We can build an end-to-end project using mean stack with client-side as a AngularJS web application. What are all the features we have it in our Edureka? First one is live online class. Next we have each and everything will be recorded and this will be available in our LMS, that is our Edureka. So if you are missing any other classes or if you have any other doubt also, you can watch those videos. We should be able to clarify yourself. Still, if you have any other doubt, what you can do, you can send out a mail to our support team. From the support team, you will be getting the reply as soon as possible. Then we'll be having each and every module will be having a own quizzes, so we can check okay what are the things we are learning, whether it is useful or not. At last we'll be having our project work. We'll build an end-to-end web application with AngularJS and Node.js as a server-side component. At last you will be getting a certificate from our Edureka that is really help add more weightage to your resume. So whoever attended today's webinar, and if you register to our Edureka for this AngularJS course, you will be getting 25% off for this AngularJS course. That is a limited offer, so you can register for now AngularJS course with the 25% of offer. So do you guys have any other question? From Anbarasi we have a question, which one we can we use, the Karma, Jasmine or Mocha? If you are using Mocha, that will be really helpful to view the test case results and other things, like if you are using Protractor, you can write the end-to-end testing also. It's a automation testing, we will be using Protractor and the Mocha other stuff. From Abhishek we have a question, we don't have, do we have any other training for React.js? We don't have any training for React.js currently now. Later we may able to have any other course for React also. From Dinesh we have a question, I don't understand the purpose of unit test casing. We are writing the cases manually, how will be effective for all the cases? Okay, so why do we write a unit test cases? Whenever you write a particular functionality, there might be some kind of issues. We can't cover all the scenarios. So we'll write the unit test cases. For the unit test cases, we will be passing the data. Okay, I will be giving the input data, and for this input data, this is what the output is expected. Let's pass this. So you can't do everything whenever you are coding, right? So the test cases will be passing the data. We will be getting the result. If it fails somewhere else, okay, fine. Okay, this scenario is failing. You should be able to change your code for the specific scenario. That's why we will be writing the test cases. And he's having one more question also. What if we miss to test some cases? So that's why what you have to do, whenever you are writing a method, once you complete the method, you have to write the test case. Otherwise, first write the test case, you can write a method. This is what we are calling it as a test-driven development. From Vinod, we have a question, is there any way to show the HTML tag in hello, what is it doing, expression and then some HTML. If you want to show the HTML tag in the expressions, you have to use ng bind HTML directive, as well as you have to use $SCE also. If you are not using the $SCE, it will throw some kind of security error. So use the $SCE service, as well as try to bind the HTML using ng bind HTML directive. From Lokesh we have a question, are Grunt and Karma are the same functionality? No. Grunt is a task runner, Karma is just for the unit test cases. Totally those are different. Okay, it's already time up. Let's take the last question. In some cases we need to interact with the browser. So is there any other kind of Selenium? Yeah, so from Ani we have a question, do we have any other kind of automation testing? If you want to write the automation testing for AngularJS, we will be writing using a Protractor to write the code. If you are using the Protractor tool, you should be able to write end-to-end automation testing. Okay guys, this recording will be available in our Edureka session. You should be able to view those recordings, and if you register for this course, you will be getting 25% offer now. Okay, thank you very much guys for attending this session and for your wonderful questions. Thank you very much. Let's meet you again. Bye bye.